loud. Okay, now we're good. So going back, pulling is, or whenever you want to pull guard, it's always a free attack opportunity. Okay, so again, it's not always going to be the highest percentage, but you will catch some people sleeping and you will find some success with it. And if nothing else, you get a free attack, you get a free move without a whole lot of downside to it. So I pull, I try to attack an armbar off the pull, but it fails. So now me and Hayden are going to reset to the center. Okay, so Hayden's in closed guard right now. What's Hayden going to want to do? Anyone have an idea of what Hayden's going to want to do to break open the closed guard right away? What do you think, Alex? You got to unmute yourself. Lower left-hand corner. You're still muted.
Force your hips to the mat.
Yes, he does want to push my hips to the mat. That makes it so I can't really move my hips, but he wants to break open my guard. If he wants to break open my guard, what's going to be the best thing for him to do?
Posture up.
Posture up, good. And then eventually posture up all the way to where? To what?
Towards your heels.
Good. Anyone want to help Alex up? He's getting the right idea. We want to posture up and away, but what's going to be the best up and away that I can get?
Feet.
Yes. Hayden wants to get all the way up to his feet. Let's see if he does that. Right now I'm controlling the wrist. So because Hayden isn't getting up to his feet yet, I'm going to be able to start going into attacks. He tries to go into his feet there, and I hook. Okay. So now I'm going to go into one of my favorite sweeps from the closed guard. So definitely jot this down. You guys want a sweep to study from the closed guard. One of my favorites, one of the strongest, is the flower sweep. Now the flower sweep I'm going to do right now is a slightly different variation, but the principles are the same. Here I'm controlling Hayden's right hand. I am going to switch the collar in a bit, but I do come back to the hand so I can stop him from basing out to his left. So my hand controls his sleeve so he can't base his hand to the left. And look where my right foot is posted. Right next to his left ankle. So when I begin to take Hayden out to my right, his left, both his left hand and his left leg are trapped. Left hand by my hand, left leg by my leg. Okay, so here I'm going to use some push-pull as well. So you guys saw that I quickly pushed into Hayden and that off-balanced him. What I want to do is I want to get Hayden thinking about being off-balanced over in this direction to get him to push back into me, and then I can take that momentum and continue it over into a sweep. So here you're going to see there's a push. I start to bump him off to the left, and we're using push-pull or action-reaction. So I get him to act there. That's why I go to the collar. You guys saw I went to the collar to push him again. You guys see he gets off-bounced a little bit there. The knee's coming off the mat. That means all of his weight's shifting over to this side. Hayden is going to have to fight back into this. So when he fights back into this, I'm going to grab his sleeve so he can't post, and I'm going to take that momentum, and I'm going to take it over to the other side. And now I'm able to sweep all the way up to the mount. Now, from the mount position, I generally have 3 plans of attack, okay? So if you guys want to jot these down, I don't actually have like a mounted system for this yet, but when I get to the mount, I'm going to try one of 3 things typically. I am either going to try to get an underhook so I can get my arm between his elbow and his ribs. Do you guys remember from our class on Tuesday? Why is that significant? What happens when my arm controls the space between his elbows and my ribs? Anybody think they know? Want to take a guess? Nothing wrong with being wrong. When I get an arm between his elbow and his ribs, that allows me to start taking his arm out and away from his body. This wedge between his elbow and ribs will start to take it out away. I can start to attack arm bars. Okay, so that's one. I try to get an underhook so I can get the elbow away from the body. The second thing I'll try, typically, is to grab a wrist and pin it to the mat. If I can pin a wrist to the mat, that's another form of getting the arm out and extended and into a good attacking position. Then the third thing that I do, if I can't get an underhook, so if I can't control the elbow with an underhook, if I can't control the wrist with a wrist pin, and I'm denied all arm control, I start going into the neck. I start going into the collars. So those are generally my 3 pieces of advice, my 3 plans of attack for the mount position. Either get an underhook and start attacking the arm, pin the wrist, so you can start attacking the arm, and there's also some back takes off that. And if you can't access the arms, either at the elbow or the wrist, hands on the collar for the neck. Now here, Hayden is going to stifle me, so we're going to see this happen. Let me go back to screen share. So you guys are going to see me problem solve a little bit here, okay? Because Hayden's going to put up some defenses that I don't have a great option for. Here, Hayden is keeping his elbow in tight to the body. It's hard to get an underhook. His wrist is back behind me. It's hard to get that. But I actually just saw myself try to do it. You guys see how this elbow's out and away from the body? So if I can't get an underhook with my arm, because I have a cross face, I can get underneath the elbow with a leg. So you guys are going to see me try to bring my leg up underneath the elbow. Unless I've already done it. But I do know Hayden's able to stop it. Let's see. And it's right here. I try to climb my leg up. It happened right there, but it failed because Hayden has his left arm inside my leg on this side. Because Hayden's blocking out my right hip, it's hard for me to bring my left hip and my left leg forward. If I were to insist on bringing my left leg forward, I would end up with my legs splayed too far apart and I would be losing control. So in order for me to isolate this arm, I first need to deal with this arm. You guys see that? Understand that? Because I can't get my hips all the way up to the shoulder, I can't attack this arm. And I can't get my hips all the way up to the shoulder because of Hayden's left arm over here blocking out my right hip. So I need to deal with that. So I'm going to start off by trying to grab the wrist here. So again, you guys are just watching me in a problem-solving exercise. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do. I'm taking this one step at a time. So I'm going to try to grab the wrist, and I see that I can't get a good grip on it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to try to go hands on the collars, just like I said. If I couldn't attack the arm, I'm going to go hands on the collar. Hayden's keeping his face really tight to me, but something's going to happen in this. I want you guys to pay close attention. What just changed? I'll show that again. I'm trying to get my arm in between his head and my body so I can start to go hands on the collars to threaten cross chokes and things like that. However, Hayden's going to do something in defending that's going to change the nature of the position. What did you just do?
Put his elbow on your knee.
Up here, yep. There's this. Is this what you're talking about over here, Nick?
I guess his left arm.
Yes, that's exactly right. Good eye, Nick. Look, this wrist is now exposed to me. You guys remember this wrist was hunkered down in my hip before? I didn't have access to it, so I couldn't pin the wrist to the mat. Now I can because he exposed it to me. One more time. No wrist. So I go after the, now there's a wrist. So now I can finally get that wrist and pin the wrist to the mat. Okay. So one thing I like to do with that is step over for a triangle, but I like to do that at the cross face. Right now I can't get a cross face. Why? Look at the position.
He's got your bicep controlled.
Yes, good job, Alex. He has an inside bicep tie. He has inside position on my arm. So I can't get my arm to his head. So I'm going to need to find a way to get around this. I can either pummel around, or if I can't just hand pummel around, here I can use my knee. Watch what I do with my left knee. I bring my left knee over the bicep to pin his arm in place. That's going to allow me to free my inside bicep tie. Now, rather than go for a crossface, I just pin his second wrist. So now Hayden's in a really, really rough spot here where he doesn't have either arm. And here, Hayden and I have a little comical conversation about me keeping my head off the side, because if I'm head over head, I'm going to rain sweat on him. If I had the volume up, you guys could hear that a little bit. So now I'm just trying to think, right? I don't have a plan. I don't have any plan from double wrist pins. So I need to figure this out. Because both arms are extended, my thought is I can probably try to thread one of my legs through to set up a triangle. So I'm going to start by bringing my knee over the bicep. What does that do for me? What does that mean I can start? It starts to free something up, okay? When my left knee comes over or my right knee comes over the arm, what am I going to be able to do now and keep control?
Right. Okay.
It frees up your right
Right.
hand.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Thinking
frees
in
up my
act, that's
right
really good.
hand. Now my
Right.
right hand can come and start attacking, and now I'm going 2-on-1. So now Hayden's left arm is completely isolated, and he's left with one extended arm, and I have 2 arms to attack his. Now I start off by locking Americana, and I just do this for control, because Americanas, while a very good basic jiu-jitsu submission, are not high percentage. If you guys are going up against, gosh, even blue belts, purple belts, and higher, Americanas are so hard to finish. So I don't generally recommend making Americanas a very big part of your game, just because they're going to work on white belts, but not really much beyond that. However, here I'm going to use the Americana for control. I'm going to take it to a higher percentage submission. Watch my left leg, my right leg. My right leg here, I'm going to try to very sneakily work my right foot over his arm. You guys are going to, right there. I let his arm out, and now I have one arm in and one arm out with the head in. Anytime I have one arm in and one arm out, that's an attack opportunity for what kind of submission, everybody? Let's go.
Triangle.
That's
Triangle.
exactly right, triangle. So now I'm going to lift Hayden's head off the mat. With his head off the mat, I can start to pass legs underneath and behind his head. And I'm starting to attack, to set up a triangle. Now right here, I'm going to go to an opposite triangle. I'm not going to talk through the details on this. It's kind of it's a tricky angle. But because I was facing that direction, it made more sense for the opposite triangle. Now, most of you should know that with a triangle, I typically want my legs figure forward on the side of the shoulder that's in, side of the arm that's in. But because I'm facing that direction, it's just not going to happen. So I go with an opposite triangle. Some of my students know the opposite triangle. If you do, good. If you don't worry about it. Focus on the regular front triangles for now. Okay, so now let's see, where am I at here? 2:30. Okay, now let's watch this open guard interaction. Who remembers from our last classes, what do I want to be doing with my feet from open guard?
Pummeling.
Pummeling,
Frame.
good. I want to be pummeling them. I always want them inside, and I always want them pointing and facing where. Don't overthink this one.
Towards your opponent.
Towards my opponent. I always want my feet pointed towards my opponent, towards my partner. So here Hayden knows that. He's going to try to take my feet and pass them side to side. And in fact, before we get to that, I'm going to get to another thing. Another very important open guard concept. If you guys want to jot this down, this is important. I never want to have a situation where my partner can grab me and I can't grab him. So what I'm going to do, I see Hayden can reach my hands, but if I were to try to reach and grab his sleeve right now, I wouldn't be able to reach him. So this is an asymmetry. He has an advantage where I don't. So when you guys are playing open guard and there's no connection, I generally recommend taking your knees tight to your chest. Here, look at how I bring my knees and my shoulders very tight together, and now my hands are very close to my ankles. Now, when Hayden goes to try to grab me, I can grab him back. See, so now Hayden doesn't want to actually commit to grips, because if he commits to some grips, he's going to forfeit grips to me as well. So he can't get an advantage without me getting an advantage too. So now he's going with like touch and go, where he's just going to try to grab and quickly push the feet out of the way. Because if he just holds on to him, his hands are going to be immobile long enough for me to get grips. So look at how he's moving his hands on. He's just trying to throw the legs around. Okay, but I'm always keeping my feet pointed to my opponent. Now, what did I just do with my feet? And why is that important?
Looks like you're setting up De La Riva.
That's not a bad thought. I love De La Riva. However, De La Riva is a form of outside control. My legs need to be out and around on the outside of Hayden's legs for that. But where are my feet right now? I don't know if you guys can see it. We'll back it up.
Maybe shin to shin?
Shin to shin would be great. Yeah, I am shin to shin. That's right where I am. And one thing that I really like to do with shin to shin, so I have my feet in Come on, my students pick up the slack. Where are my feet? You guys who know all my
Inside.
Yes, my feet
Double
are
inside.
double inside position. Great job, Otter. Both of my feet are inside, and Hayden's knees are off the mat. So you guys can take a good guess as to what I'm going to try to do next. What do you guys think?
Ashigarami.
That's right. I'm going to go into Ashigarami, a leg entanglement. Double inside position, legs off the mat. I'm going to start to attack his leg. Anytime, you guys want to write this down if this is not written down already. If you can get both your feet inside your opponent's feet and you get their knee off the mat, you can attack their leg. You can go into Ashigarami. Again, those 2 points, your feet inside their legs and at least one of their knees off the mat. All right, let's go back into see where we're at now with the Ashigarami. Now, what is Hayden doing right now that's good for him? What is he doing that's keeping him in a safe position? Where are his hips? Or more importantly, where aren't his hips? We talked about this at length on Tuesday.
His hips aren't up high.
So yeah, his hips, they're not up high, but they're also not way. Think the other way. All right, let me ask this another way. Those of you who are here Tuesday. When Hayden's in Ashigarami, what does he want? Like, let's say he's in Ashigarami, I'm attacking an ankle lock. What does he want to do in order to not get his leg broken?
Stand up.
Yes, Hayden is up off the mat. Can you guys mute your? Can you mute yourselves and only unmute when you want to talk? I'm getting feedback. Thank you. Okay, Hayden's hips are up off the mat, so I can't really submit him now. So Hayden's doing a good job right here. So when you guys are stuck in Ashigarami, stand up or get your hips off the mat. Now here I'm going to do a little push-pull to break, to off-balance them. So once again, if you guys want to write that down, we've seen that twice today. Use push-pull or use action-reaction to find success with your attacks. So here I'm going to push into Hayden a little bit and then pull him over my right. So I push to my left very slightly. When he reacts by driving back into me, I go back to the right. Little push to the left to start him there. He drives back in, and then we go to the right. Now where are his hips? Feel free to unmute yourselves to answer. Where are his hips now, and why is that bad?
Planted on the mat.
His hips are planted on the mat. That means I can start to go into attacks. Okay, so we're going to look into the straight ankle lock here. So now that Hayden's hips are off the mat, one thing that I really like to do with straight ankles, in fact, Nick Jackson, he's in class here, used what I'm about to do in one of his tournaments. Nick, when I want to maximize my leverage on a straight ankle lock, what do I want to do with my feet?
You want both feet in the hips.
Drive my feet in the hips. That's a great job, Nick. Nick, again, used this technique in one of his tournaments, maybe about 6 months to a year ago, something like that.
Yep.
Watch what I do with my right foot here. My right foot steps on the hip. My hips come off the mat, and now I can drive off the strength of both legs to get a really strong straight ankle. So when you guys are going for a straight ankle lock, putting 2 feet in the hips is a fantastic way to generate a ton of power. So those of you who are interested in leg locks, make sure you write that down. That's an important detail. Another great way that I like to finish ankle locks is to go belly down. I don't do that today, but those are my 2 things. I'll either go double feet in the hips, or I'll go belly down, or sometimes I'll do both. All right. So now Hayden's gonna take top position. Looks like we're chit-chatting about something. He must have had a question. Okay, so he's up. So now, like what Alex had mentioned earlier, now I'm going into that daily Hiva control, which is, again, is a great form of control. Right, there's my outside hook. Now right here, there's gonna be a little battle that goes on. I want to see if you guys can see what it is before it really happens. Right now, Hayden can't really close the distance on me at all. Why not? What's the problem here for Hayden?
Your right foot's on his hip.
Great job, Alex. My right foot's on his hip. So Hayden needs to get that foot off of his hip, but he's gonna need to do so in a safer manner than what he does. I guess we'll just see. So right now that's the problem, but he's attacking the knee. Okay, so he's kind of wasting time on the knee right here. He doesn't really realize the foot's the problem. He steps back, but he's not able to get inside my foot because he's not controlling my foot. Eventually he realizes and he goes to the ankle. Okay. So anytime I'm looking to pass guard, and I generally recommend controlling the ankles first to get past the feet, and then progressing your way through the feet, through the knees, to the hips, through the hands, through the elbows, to the head and shoulders. So see this again. This foot's on the hip. Hayden's going to try to get the foot out of the hip by stepping, but he's not able to successfully do so until he actually grabs my foot and stuffs it. So he did a good thing there. But look at Hayden's posture. I want you to look at how his body is oriented. I want you to look at where his base is and tell me what's an issue right now with Hayden's weight distribution.
His shoulders are past his knees.
Yes, very good, Alex. Hayden's shoulders are leaning so far forward past his knees, and his knees aren't even a great, I mean, there's some base support, but they're not great. So right now his base support, his feet and his hips, his shoulders are so far forward. So I'm going to be able to do what? Alex, what do you think I'm going to be able to do here?
You're going to be able to bring him wherever you want.
I'm going to be able to bring him forward for sure. So there's forward, I'm going to be able to lift him, and I send him flying. Okay, so now Hayden is actually doing a good thing here by trying to keep his elbow inside and trying to bring his elbow and his knee together. If you guys are finding yourselves underneath of a bottom pin, whether it's mount, whether it's side control, whether it's north-south, you always want to bring your knee or your elbow inside as a frame and then bring your knee and elbow together. So Hayden starts off doing the right thing, but then he gets, either overwhelmed or excited, and he feels like he has to do something else, so he turns away, which is, I would say, ill-advised on his part. So now I've got back exposure on Hayden. I've secured a wrist-to-wrist grip here, a one-on-one, and I pull him down because he was kind of caught in a turtle position. Okay, so right now, Hayden's keeping a closed turtle. And those of you who are my students, you should know this. When somebody has a closed turtle and I have trouble getting inside position, let's say I have trouble getting hooks in, what do I typically try to do with them?
Stretch them out.
Stretch them out. That's good. How do I do that? It's going to be hard just to grab and start stretching things. So how do I get Hayden to extend his limbs?
Break him down to his hip.
Good. I'm going to break him down to a hip. I'm going to off balance him. So one of two things is going to happen. So watch how I'm going to jump back. I'm going to try to get Hayden to widen his base. So Hayden has a dilemma here. He has a choice, or he has two options. He can either extend his limbs. He could post his hand out wide to stop being broken down. He could try to post a leg out to stop being broken down and give me inside position in order to remain in turtle. Otherwise, he can accept the breakdown and give me side control. Okay, so he had two bad choices there. He could either extend limbs to stay in turtle and give me inside position, or he could keep his limbs tight to avoid giving me inside position, but in doing so, he's going to give up side control, which is what he did. Now, the next thing I'm going to go into, guys, is a huge part of my game, the Kimura. The Kimura is such a strong form of control. It frees up both my legs. I can use both strong limbs to keep fighting. It's a great form of two-on-one control that restricts his movement. And if I can get his hand behind his back, it's also a good submission. So my right hand is already fed through his arm. So I need to get my left hand to his wrist. Once I can do that, I'll have a Kimura grip. And seriously, anytime you get a Kimura, if you know what you're doing, it should lead to a greater degree of control and eventually to submission. Kimuras are so strong. Now here, Hayden's doing a good job of defending his right wrist. You guys see his left hand right here covering his right wrist? That's going to be a problem for me. So I eventually need, I don't have a solution quite yet, but I'm going to figure one out. So here I'm trying to get to the Kimura, I'm pressuring into him, trying to do different things, but he's being very disciplined with this good, solid defensive position. So I eventually, what do you guys think I could do? What would you try to do here if you want to get to the Kimura?
Work a knee pillow in there.
A knee pillow would be okay if I want to take the back. But again, think specifically for the Kimura. Why can't I get the Kimura? Let's ask that way. Why can't I?
Wrong angle.
It's not the wrong angle. It's something I already mentioned.
His elbow's in tight.
His elbows are in tight, but I'm already inside his right elbow. So it's not the elbow.
Put
I
your knee
mentioned it a
over
couple
his
times
face.
already, guys. What was that?
Put your knee over his head.
I could do that too. That'd be a good way to do it. Right. But again, why can't I get the Kimura? Because I don't have access to the wrist. I can't grab Hayden's wrist right now. It's hidden underneath of his left arm. You guys see this? His right wrist is underneath his left arm. So now that you guys know that, now does that change your answer at all?
Take his wrist away.
Perfect, Greg. Awesome. So now I'm going to start to push this wrist out of the way. Look, now that I have his wrist out of the way, there's the Kimura. So easy. It's so, when you guys break jiu-jitsu down, I'm going to stop for a second. When you guys can break jiu-jitsu down to these simple problems, you'll often find that the solutions are also very simple. Jiu-jitsu is very easy to make overcomplicated. Okay, there's 1,000 different things you can do. It's so easy to get caught up with all the different possibilities. But when you guys can just look and analyze and identify what the simple problems are, oftentimes simple problems can have equally simple solutions. So back to Greg's point, if the wrist is in the way, move the wrist. Now I have my Kimura with a combination of a seatbelt because I have his head inside too. This is actually one of my favorite forms of control, this Kimura with the head inside. A couple things I call this, I call it a head and arm Kimura, where I have the head and the arm in, or a figure 4 seatbelt because I have a figure 4 wrist grip and a seatbelt. So either one. Great position. Almost always leads to a submission for me. So here I sit on my hips, and I do that so I can unweight my legs. Now I can start passing legs over the body, and with my legs unweighted, I can start using my legs to do some of the work that my arms can't. Right now, my arms are locked up with the Kimura. So if you guys want to get good with the Kimura, I've told this to my students before, learn to fight and accomplish goals and tasks using your legs. So right now, my goal, my task is to separate his two arms. Okay, either for an arm bar or for a triangle. Either one would be good. Since my arms are busy holding the Kimura, I need to separate his arms using my legs. I use this all the time, guys. So look how I've sat to my butt, and I'm going to take my two heels inside the far arm right here. So now Hayden's going to be trying to hold on to his arms versus the strength of my leg press. Never going to happen. So now I'm able to pass a foot inside the arm. What kind of attack do you guys think I could easily go for right here?
Back triangle.
Yes, triangle. Because why the triangle, Alex? Why a triangle? Why is that the obvious answer here?
You got a head and an arm in and just one arm in.
Perfect. Alex, you are killing it this morning.
Hey, triangle's my favorite.
So there I'm able to get a rear triangle. So again, I want you guys to watch that sequence again because again, the Kimura is just such a damn strong tool. So Hayden's left wrist is preventing my Kimura grip. So to Greg's point, I'm going to move that wrist out of the way. There's my Kimura. Now I want to be able to use my legs, but right now my legs are being used as a base. So what did you see me do? How do I unweight my legs?
Go to your hips.
Yes, I put my hips down on the mat. Now with my hips on the mat, I don't need to use my legs for a base. Great job, Nick. Really good. Now I can unweight my legs, use the strength of my legs to separate the arms, and I go into a nice rear triangle. So the Kimura write this down, take a note on this. The Kimura is a phenomenal gateway to many other submissions. Okay, the Kimura, yes, is a submission in and of itself, but the Kimura is also a phenomenal way to enter into arm bars and triangles. It's also a great way to get to the back. I use the Kimura to get to the back all the time because I'm able to hold the arm across my center line. We talked about that in great detail a couple of classes ago. Anytime I can bring limbs across my center line, I can go to the back, and the Kimura is one way for me to move that limb across my center line. So again, use the Kimura as a submission in and of itself. Use the Kimura as a strong form of control, and use the Kimura as an entry into arm bars, triangles, and the most dominant position in jiu-jitsu, back control. Okay, so now we're back to the action here. I'm gonna go to pass. Looks like I'm taking top position. I'm gonna go to pass Hayden's guard. Looks like Hayden wants to play a butterfly guard here for a second. With these grips that he gets right here, this belt grip and this sleeve grip, this would be a great time for him to go into a hook sweep to his right-hand side, hook sweeping me over to this direction. However, he changes his strategy. So right now I'm preparing for a hook sweep. Hayden's using some trickery here. He's going for a hook sweep first, but then he's going to try to convert it to closed guard. Okay, so I'm going to back up really quick. So Hayden's going to, let me see if I can pause it at the right time. Okay, so Hayden is pulling me into closed guard. You guys can see this, yes? Okay. What should I be doing right away? What should I do? What should the first thing I do be?
Posture up.
Posture up, good. And all the way to the same conversation we had before, guys?
Standing.
Yes, we want to get all the way up to the feet. So I want you guys to pay attention. This needs to be second nature to you guys. Write this down if you need to. When you're in closed guard, stand up as soon as possible. You want to make a good base, like you want to do it safely, so you don't just stand up all willy-nilly, but you do want to start the process of getting inside position and standing up right away. So watch how long it takes me to start standing up from the moment he pulls me into closed guard. He pulls me in, and I'm immediately up to my feet. You guys, I don't spend any time down on my knees. If I'm down on my knees, that's where Hayden wants me. And I'm going to stand all the way up to what we call vertical posture. So I first stand up to a kind of a really crappy posture, and I hold that for like 1 or 2 seconds. This is not good. With my head's not quite lower than my hips, it's at the same height of my hips. Hayden wants my head lower than my hips, and I want to get to vertical posture. So here, this is not great for me, and I hung out there for a second, and then I immediately go vertical posture to break the guard open. So again, write that down. Anytime you're in closed guard, try to stand up right away. The threat, or I'm going to stop share quick. From closed guard, people are reluctant to stand up sometimes. And there's an obvious reason to it. Why do you guys think that is? Why do some people maybe not like to stand up inside the closed guard?
Getting swept.
Yeah, there's a danger of being swept. Your opponent can grab your ankles and they can sweep you backwards. They can scoop inside your ankle, like hook underneath and force your knee outside. They can off balance you backwards. However, don't let that fear stop you from standing up, because whatever danger is associated with being off balanced backward down to a hip is much less than the danger associated with being pulled down forward into the guard. Okay, you guys understand this. If I get knocked backwards, I go down to my butt. I can stand back up in base, like I can do a technical stand up, I can get back up, hip heist, and I can still stay on top. And the worst case scenario is I don't get up and I give up a sweep. But what are the higher risks of staying on my knees inside closed guard though? What's the risk associated with that?
Submission and sweeping.
Being pulled forward into submissions. I care more about that than the sweeps. So staying on my knees in closed guard, the danger is being pulled into arm bars and triangles and kimuras. The danger of standing up inside closed guard is being broken down backward down to a hip or being swept. So when you guys are met with that choice, do I want to be submitted or do I want to be swept? We'd much rather be swept. So anytime you guys are finding yourselves in closed guard, stand up right away, accept the risk of sweeping, learn how to mitigate that, but trust that you guys are doing the right thing, okay? So I'm up inside the closed guard, I'm able to break it open. Now here we saw, I did this exact position to Hayden earlier. Did I share again, guys? Can you see the screen or no?
No.
Okay, my bad. Share, okay. So I'll rewind slightly. So I stand up and Hayden puts me in the same position that I had him in earlier with this foot on the hip and the De La Hiva. Alex told us how this foot in the hip is a problem and I need to get over that foot, okay? Another big problem here. I'll be honest, I did not handle this right. I get the pass, but I did not do this the best way possible. I should have broken this collar grip. Why? Why is this collar grip such a pain in the butt for me? What's it doing to me?
Controls your posture.
Exactly right. It controls my posture. I should be breaking that so I can get posture back, but I don't. Instead, I decided to use my right hand to take care of this De La Hiva hook. Now with the now I go to the foot. I'm going to go push the foot out of the hip. Here. Now, because my posture is broken, and because he has this collar grip, watch how Hayden's able to off-balance me as I come into my knee cup position. See how I have to hop a little bit and my hand goes down to the mat? If Hayden would have had my right sleeve, there's a good chance he would have swept me because he had this posture grip. So if his right hand was on the collar and his left hand was on the sleeve, he may have gotten the sweep there. But that is the danger of not breaking this collar grip. I want you guys to understand that I messed up by not breaking the collar grip and I got off balance because of it. Luckily, I was able to put my hand on the mat and save my balance. Now, another very important detail in passing guard, especially with the knee cut, guys. The knee cut is one of the strongest guard passes in all of jiu-jitsu. This cross knee pass or knee cut pass, one of the strongest there is. And one of the most common problems associated with it is this knee shield coming inside. You guys, I know some of my students will remember this. If you guys aren't my students, you might know this too. What do I want to do to keep this knee stuck in the outside position so he can't bring it in as a knee shield?
Keep your elbow on the inside.
Keep my
V-frame.
elbow on the inside, good. What was that?
V-frame.
Good. Ant, can you explain, because not everybody uses the same verbiage. What is a V-frame?
Can you connect your knee to your elbow and it makes a V-frame?
Good. I connect my left knee to my left elbow and that creates a wall. Okay, it creates a V. I'm going to stop so you guys can see this and it makes sense. When I connect my knee and my elbow together, you guys see you can make a V here. So we have a V frame. This wall is going to stop anything from coming to the inside position. I mean, as long as it remains intact. Obviously, the other person wants to break the integrity of the V-frame and get inside. But keeping your knees and your elbows connected help you to maintain inside position. We saw this a little bit on Tuesday too. When I was maintaining a position, I used that V-frame to stay inside. So anyway, I connect knee and elbow together to keep that V-frame out. And now I come up guard. Now, another important detail for you guys to write down. Anytime I pass guard, but my partner's knees are still pointing toward me and their frames, their hands and their knees are still pointing toward me, I generally place my shin or my knee across their hip line. Why? What does that do? I mean, obviously there's the knee mount there, but let's go beyond that. What's the function or the mechanical use of this knee across the belly? Or across the hip line?
It controls their hips.
It does. It controls their hips.
Keeps the back on the ground.
It keeps
Back
the back
flat.
on the ground. These are all good things. What does it
Prevents
keep
the
out?
regard.
Good. Why does it prevent the regard, Hayden?
Keeps my knees out.
It keeps
your
the
hip.
knees stuck in the outside position. That's perfect, Hayden. So here, if I were to just put my knees on the mat, if I would have gone knee on belly, if I'd have put my knee on the mat, Hayden would have been able to hold me off these frames. And because his knees are already facing me, it would have been very easy for him to bring his knees back inside. So I have to block his knees out. And I do that by bringing my knee up to the belly. So now Hayden realizes his frames aren't very useful, so he brings them back in for safety from submissions, right? Because there was extended limbs there for a moment. And he realized, okay, I can't get my limbs back in, so I'm going to tuck my elbows in back to my body so I don't get submitted. That was a good thing for Hayden to do. What do I have on this side? What do I have right here that we talked about last on Tuesday?
An underhook.
Underhook.
An underhook. Good. What's the implication of that? Meaning my arm is between what two parts of Hayden?
Your arm and his ribs.
Yes, my arm is in between his upper arm and his ribs. Okay. We talked about this on Tuesday. The importance of this. Okay. If I can wedge any part of my body between his upper arm and his ribs, I can start to force that arm out and away from the center line at some point. Okay, so you guys are going to see that same thing happen here. Again, guys, I'm trying to simplify jiu-jitsu for you. Okay, so I'm giving you these common themes of these common things to look for, and you guys can hopefully find them in different ways when you guys get back to the mats and do some of your own rolling. You'll find your own ways to implement these principles. But anytime I can wedge a part of my body between his upper arm and his ribs, I can start to attack that limb. Let's see how I do it here. So first, this wrist in my neck is a problem. Okay, it makes it so I don't really have the arm completely isolated. So what I like to do is I like to push the wrist out, maybe even attack an Americana. And anytime I attack an Americana, everybody always hides their hand on the other side of the head. But this gives me exactly what I wanted. Now this limb is extended and I have inside position. One of my favorite attacks from this position is the far side arm bar. Now, something different that I do with the far side arm bar. So if you guys like the far side arm bar, write this down. This makes a huge, huge difference. Many people will just step around the head and quickly spin and fall to their butt. They make it into a speed thing. They need to put the arm bar on before their opponent realizes what's happening. I take a different approach. I go slowly enough that I can control everything as good as possible so that he knows it's coming and he still can't stop it. So one time I'm going to start to pull him off the mat. I step one leg over and look at how tight I'm keeping my knees and my hips. Everything is super tight. I drop my hips down. Sorry about this, Hayden. I know that doesn't look great. Pinching the knees together. Like all the wedges are set tightly. There's no space for him to escape. Okay, if I would have spun really quick, anytime you want to move fast, you need to have space. That space will be taken advantage of by more experienced grapplers like Hayden. If I were to go fast and create space against like a white belt or blue belt, odds are I'd still get it. If I were to go fast on Hayden, I would never hold the arm. Hayden would be gone very, very quick. So I need to keep my knees and everything super tight as I very slowly sit to the mat. Look at how there's no space in that. Okay. So again, watch how tight my legs and hips stay. So I'm doing this very slow. There's no secret that I'm going for an arm bar. And I get to that final position. And then for those of you who are here Tuesday, Hayden tapped right now. But what could Hayden have tried to do because of my lack of control?
Hitchhiker escape.
Yes, the hitchhike escape or the turnout escape. Why, Ant?
Because you're not controlling his hip or the far side leg or that leg that you're pointing to.
Do you remember what we call that?
I don't, sorry.
That's okay. Who can help him?
The thumb is facing actually, yep. I don't know.
So that's a different issue. What do I call my right leg right here? What job should this leg have? We talked about this on Tuesday.
Torso control.
Yeah, so this is a torso leg. this leg should be over the top of Hayden's chest to control his torso. Because his torso is not controlled, he can run out and away for the hitchhike escape. So I have my cross face leg in place, but no torso leg. Anytime we enter into a quarter arm bar, which is what this position is, a quarter arm bar, we want to immediately pass our leg over the chest. However, Hayden tapped quick before I really had a chance to do it. And that's going to be the end of the round. So I've got a few solo drills that I want to do with you guys based on a few things we saw. I'm going to go back to a few of these positions to highlight things that I want to do. Now here, we talked about the importance of keeping our knees tight to our shoulders so that he can't reach me without me reaching him. Okay, so there's that. I want to go over that. I want to go over, do leg pummeling. So back to 440. So from this Kimura, the idea of leg pummeling, once I sit down, seated leg pummeling, we did this on Tuesday. We'll do more of this today because I want you guys to learn how to use your legs like arms. So we'll do some leg pummeling, and then we'll do some closed guard stand-ups. So I'm going to take you guys into my gym. I'll stop the screen share in a second once I get to the mat room. All right. Stop share. Okay, everybody can see me? Okay, so the first thing, from open guard, if my knees, so I have my hip line right here and my knee line right here. If my knees are further away than my hip line, I have extended legs. This is generally bad for me. So I want you guys to get good at this idea. Bring your knees to your shoulders. Take my hoodie off quick. So this is going to be a good core strength exercise as well. Try to get your knees to your shoulders here. It's going to be a core strength. Your abs are going to have to pull your legs in. If you can get your knees to your shoulders, how is anybody going to sit in side control on you? How is anybody going to pass your guard and get inside control if your thighs are literally on top of your chest? Now, some of you may only be able to get to maybe here or something, and that's okay. You just can't get to your shoulders yet. But the more you guys do this, the more you try to bring your shoulders up and your knees up, and you try to get to the ability to connect knees and shoulders, you're eventually going to be able to get to that point. So hold this. You guys can watch TV. You can hold this position for 30 seconds. It's actually going to be a pretty good core workout. Try to hold your knees tight to your shoulders. Okay, so that's one. The other thing we talked about, I have the Kimura. You guys remember when I took my heels inside of Hayden's arm and stretched his arm away and I went to the rear triangle? So you guys need to be able to sit on your butt, feet off the mat, being balanced. You guys need to be able to leg pummel here. If you guys want, you can imagine bring your heels inside the arm to push away. You guys can pummel with one leg at a time. You guys learning how to sit on your mat, on the mat, on your butt like this, and use your legs to accomplish tasks, the better you'll be. You need to learn to use your legs like arms. Okay, arms are very dexterous, legs are very strong. When you can have very dexterous legs and they're very strong, like they're very, very dangerous. Okay, so learning to use your legs like arms, very important. The last drill I want to give you guys is standing up to vertical posture when you guys get inside closed guard. So if you guys imagine yourselves, make sure I get the screen perfect. I'm in closed guard. What I like to do here is take my hands and pin my opponent's biceps. So their biceps are pinned to the mat. I'll stand up one leg, the second leg, and then I immediately go to vertical posture. I don't want to stay here with my head lower than my hips. If my head's lower than my hips, this is very, very bad for me. So the second we get up, we are all the way up. We're standing immediately straight up, just like this, all the way up. Then what I recommend you guys do after you get all the way up, imagine that your opponent's trying to do a double ankle sweep, and you need to kick out. So I stand up, I imagine my opponent grabs my ankles and they want to take me backward, okay? So as soon as I get up, the first thing I do is I put all of my weight over one leg. So look at how I move my head and shoulders and my knee all over one leg. So I can kick the other leg up and out, and I can avoid the double ankle sweep. So again, this drill done, we'll look hands inside on the biceps, stand up, vertical posture. I put all my weight over one foot and I kick the other leg forward and then out and back. So done in normal speed. Just like that. I'm in closed guard, inside, up, over one leg, and we back step. And then we can start breaking open the guard. So 3 good drills for you guys today while you're watching TV, while you're watching Netflix, or whatever you're doing. You're in closed guard, knees to shoulders with your hands by your ankles. Now, if your opponent wants to touch you or get any sort of grip to pass your guard, they're gonna have to surrender a grip to you as well. As opposed to here, where they could grab my ankles and I can't reach. Okay, so we're here. Number 2, seated leg pummeling, so I can use my legs to do intricate tasks. I could separate arms, I could pass a foot through for a triangle, okay? Anything you can do here is gonna be good to teach your legs how to move. And then standing up in closed guard. Inside biceps, we're up. Immediately weight over one leg, and we kick a leg back. All right, guys, are there any last minute questions before we wrap things up today? Okay, so let's see, what do I got here? When I'm playing open guard, where do I want to point my feet?
Towards your opponent.
Towards my opponent, perfect. If my opponent starts to grab my ankles and I can't grab him back, what do I want to do with my legs?
Knees to shoulders.
Knees to shoulders, bring those knees up tight. Perfect. What's the value of the Kimura grip?
Control.
Gives me a great deal of control. That's one. And what's another thing? What's something else?
A phenomenal way to other submissions.
Fantastic, Nick. The Kimura is a great way to get into so many other submissions. It's a great gateway. Gets into arm bars, triangles. You can take it into the Kimura. You can take it into back control, so it goes into other good positions as well, okay? And then anytime I find myself in closed guard, what's the first thing I'm going to try to do to break it open?
Stand up.
Stand up. That's exactly right, guys. All right, I hope you guys got some good notes today. Otherwise, that's all I got. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day. Thanks for taking the class, and I hope you guys got a little bit better today.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Coach.
Coach.
That was great.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great day, everybody.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank
Good
you.
day.